I want you to pause for a second. Wherever you are, just stop and visualize a single perfect drop of water.
Just hovering right in front of you.
Exactly. Completely transparent, perfectly round, just, suspended there in the air. I want you to consider the really profound, mind-bending paradox of what you are actually looking at.
Because it's so much more than just a liquid.
Right. I mean, think about it. Our own lives begin in the dark, breathing amniotic fluid in the room.
Which is basically our first ocean.
It is. Long before we ever take a breath of air, we're suspended in water. And the chemical composition of the tears we cry or the blood plasma pumping through our veins right now, it bears a striking similarity to the ancient primordial ocean of this planet.
We literally carry the sea inside us.
Yeah. When you cry, you are crying saltwater. We are, in a very real sense, tides.
I love that. And, water is far more than just a physical substance. It's really a grammar.
A grammar.
Yeah, it's the ultimate medium through which the invisible forces of the universe become visible. When we look across the entire spectrum of human understanding, from the laboratories of modern quantum physicists to the poetry of Sufi mystics, water emerges as the single element that every major wisdom tradition points to as holding the secret to existence.
And that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive. We're going to decode that ultimate language. We want to explore how water bridges this massive gap between, the freezing vacuum of space, the bizarre laws of quantum physics, and ancient spiritual wisdom.
To find the meaning of life hidden in a glass of water.
Exactly. But to grasp that meaning, we really have to start at the very beginning. How did that drop of water actually get here?
Well, to answer that, we have to look at an unimaginably violent and ancient cosmic birth. Fundamentally, water is an alien alloy.
Okay, an alien alloy. Break that down for me.
It's a combination of two elements born in vastly different cosmic eras. Take the hydrogen in that drop. Hydrogen is the oldest element in existence.
Right, from the Big Bang.
Yes. Forged 13.8 billion years ago in the absolute unimaginable silence of the universe's first moments. It's the original canvas of reality.
Wow.
But the oxygen in that water came much, much later. Oxygen was baked billions of years later in the intense nuclear ovens of dying giant stars.
So it wasn't there at the start.
No, and it was only released into the void through hyperviolent supernovae explosions.
So we have the absolute quietest, oldest element from the dawn of time colliding with an element born in the most violent cosmic explosions possible.
Exactly. And they finally met in the freezing, dark vacuum of deep space. They bonded to form massive interstellar ice clouds, comets and asteroids.
Right.
And about 4.5 billion years ago, during an era known as the Late Heavy Bombardment, those comets and asteroids acted as basically interstellar postmen.
I've always struggled to picture that era. What does a heavy bombardment actually look like on a planetary scale?
Okay, imagine the early solar system as a really chaotic game of cosmic billiards. You have this young, completely molten volcanic Earth. The surface is basically an ocean of magma.
Just glowing red everywhere.
Right, and suddenly millions of massive city-sized ice comets begin relentlessly smashing into the planet.
Millions of.
Yeah, it was a chaotic, fiery deluge that lasted millions of years, delivering the interstellar ice that would eventually cool the crust and form our oceans.
That's just wild to visualize.
And what's truly compelling is how ancient theological texts mirror this exact sequence of events.
Oh, really? Like which ones?
Well, when you read the creation narratives in the Abrahamic texts, like Genesis or the Torah, before the Creator ever says, "Let there be light," the waters already existed in the darkness. The ancient Hebrew word used is the Tehom, the primordial deep. And the Quran also explicitly states that all living things were made from water and describes the divine throne resting upon the water before the heavens and the earth were even formed.
So the astrophysicist charting comets and the ancient theologian writing scripture are pointing to the exact same prerequisite.
Exactly. Before this spark of life can happen, the stage has to be flooded.
But I keep getting hung up on the sheer mathematical odds of this. We happen to sit perfectly in the solar system's habitable zone. We're on this tiny blue marble just close enough to the sun for this ancient interstellar ice to melt into liquid.
Right, but far enough away so it doesn't just boil off.
Yes, so it doesn't boil off into the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, is it really just blind luck that the cosmos is so precisely tuned to create, deliver, and sustain this exact molecule?
Well, that question of luck kind of falls away when we look at how water behaves once it's actually here on Earth. Not only is its cosmic arrival practically a miracle, but its day-to-day behavior completely ignores the standard laws of physics.
Also.
Water is the great rule breaker of the natural world. Consider density. Almost every substance in the known universe shrinks, becomes denser, and gets heavier when it transitions from a liquid to a solid.
Sure.
Water does the exact opposite.
Yeah, I know ice floats, but why does it do that? Like, what is physically happening to make a solid lighter than a liquid?
It all comes down to microscopic architecture.
Hmm.
Water molecules have a V shape. When the temperature drops to exactly 4 degrees Celsius, water reaches its maximum density.
Okay.
But as it gets colder and starts to freeze into ice, the molecules slow down. The hydrogen bonds between them lock into this rigid hexagonal crystal lattice.
Hexagonal, like a honeycomb.
Exactly. And that specific hexagonal shape actually forces the molecules to spread further apart than they were as a liquid.
Oh, wow.
Because there's more empty space within that crystal structure, the ice expands and becomes less dense.
So the empty space acts like a microscopic life jacket, basically keeping the solid ice buoyed on top of the liquid water.
That is a perfect way to put it. And if water obeyed the normal rules of physics and sank as it froze, our lakes and oceans would freeze from the bottom up.
Which would be catastrophic, right?
Oh, totally. During the first ice age, the oceans would have become solid, inescapable blocks of ice. Every living thing on Earth would have been permanently extinguished.
So water's refusal to follow the rules of density is literally the only reason life continued.
Yes, and its anomalies extend to temperature control too. Water possesses a massive heat capacity.
Meaning it absorbs heat without getting hot itself. But how does a molecule trap heat without raising its own temperature? I mean, that sounds contradictory.
Right, well, temperature is essentially a measurement of how fast molecules are moving. But when sunlight hits water, the energy doesn't immediately make the molecules bounce around faster.
What does it do instead?
The energy is absorbed by the hydrogen bonds connecting the molecules. Those bonds act like tiny springs. They stretch, bend, and vibrate, soaking up the sun's radiation.
So the bonds are doing the work, not the molecule's speed.
Exactly, and that acts as the planet's thermostat through global ocean currents, absorbing heat so we don't cook during the day or freeze at night.
And I guess it performs the exact same thermostatic function inside your own body when you sweat?
You got it. We owe our survival to bending molecular springs.
That is amazing. And, the way these molecules interact with each other is endlessly fascinating. I remember learning in school about cohesion, the way water molecules cling to one another.
Is hydrogen bonding again?
Right.
Yeah.
I always picture it like a microscopic barrel of monkeys.
Right.
Hook one monkey, pull it up, and the entire chain of monkeys comes up with it, completely interconnected.
That interconnected chain is what allows a massive redwood tree to pull water 100 meters up into the sky.
Without a pump.
Without any mechanical pump.
Yeah.
Completely against the force of gravity. As water evaporates from a leaf at the very top of the canopy, it pulls on the molecule below it.
Which pulls the one below that.
Right, all the way down into the deep root system.
Uh.
And beyond that cohesion, water is the universal solvent. It dissolves more substances than the strongest lab-created acids.
Even our brains are, 80 to 85% water?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The electrical impulses of our neurons, our thoughts, our memories, we are literally thinking through water. It is the biological courier of consciousness.
Which really makes me wonder what is happening within that courier on a fundamental level.
Well, modern quantum research shows liquid water constantly fluttering back and forth between symmetrical order and dense chaos.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the quantum scale, it is permanently balancing right on the threshold of form and formlessness.
That sounds incredibly philosophical for a physics concept.
It really does. And long before we had electron microscopes, the ancient Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu recognized this exact same dynamic.
Oh, right. Taoism introduces the concept of wu-wei.
Action through non-resistance.
Yeah, action through non-resistance. Because water is the softest, most yielding substance in the natural world. Yet, by simply flowing around obstacles and yielding, it can literally carve the Grand Canyon out of solid rock.
It defeats the hard and the rigid by refusing to fight on their terms.
It yields in order to win. So water operates as this physical mechanism that balances cosmic and physical chaos. It stands to reason that humanity has instinctively looked to it to balance our own psychological and spiritual chaos.
Oh, absolutely. The ancient Kabbalah teaches a profound concept that actually mirrors an ongoing debate in modern physics.
Okay, what's the concept?
The idea that water retains a memory. The Kabbalah suggests water retains information about everything it touches.
Wait, hold on. I need you to break that down for me. Are you saying water literally remembers what it touches? Because that sounds dangerously close to pseudoscience. How are actual modern scientists debating water memory?
I know, it sounds out there, and it is a highly controversial area of study. But physicists are looking at the topography of hydrogen bond networks.
Okay.
While individual hydrogen bonds break and reform in fractions of a picosecond, some researchers propose that the overall network of water molecules might maintain a structural imprint.
Like a topological memory.
Yes, of the substances that were dissolved in it, long after those substances are gone. The structure of the water itself is altered by its history.
Wow.
And because of this deeply ingrained idea of a connective memory, human beings across time and cultures have used water to reset their spiritual frequency.
That makes perfect sense. Like in Islam, there is the practice of wudu, the ritual washing before prayer. It's not fundamentally about physical hygiene.
Right, it's something much deeper.
Yeah, the teaching is that as the drops of water fall from the face and the hands, the daily missteps, the little ego-driven mistakes made that day, they're washed away with them, basically calibrating the soul before speaking to the divine.
I see a very similar mechanism in Judaism with the mikvah, the ritual submersion in living, flowing water.
Yes. And a fascinating detail about the mikveh is that a person is actually required to wash themselves thoroughly with soak before entering the water.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the physical dirt is already gone, so the water serves entirely as a spiritual threshold, transitioning the soul from one state of being to another.
And Christianity utilizes baptism in much the same way. Submersion into the rough, living waters of the Jordan River represents the death of the faulty ego.
The water acts as a grave.
Exactly. A grave of submersion, and rising out of it is a rebirth.
It's just so universal.
It is. And looking beyond the Abrahamic traditions, we see water acting as a literal gateway everywhere. In Celtic mythology, deep bogs and lakes weren't viewed as mere geography.
They were portals, right?
Physical portals to the other world. Think of Bridget's sacred wells, or the sword Excalibur emerging from the mysterious depths of a lake.
Right. And the Aztecs viewed water as the corridor for the dead, the path to Xibalba.
Yes. And in Norse mythology, Odin, the Allfather, tore out his own eye and sacrificed it to Mimir's well just for a single sip of its water.
Just for one sip of cosmic knowledge.
The myth is telling us that ultimate cosmic wisdom doesn't reside in the hard, rigid earth. It's found in the deep, yielding, mysterious waters.
But I see a massive paradox staring us in the face here. I mean, we are talking about water as this spiritual reset, a portal to wisdom, a deeply merciful element. But in these exact same traditions, water is also the ultimate terrifying destroyer. In the Exodus story, the Red Sea parts to grant miraculous freedom to the oppressed, but then it crashes down and violently drowns the oppressor.
And Noah's flood wipes the entire planetary slate clean.
Yes, water is pure mercy, yes, but it respects absolutely no compromises. It yields to everything, yet it has the power to destroy anything.
And that dual nature, mercy and destruction, is why water is the ultimate symbol of the ego's journey. Ritual washing cleanses the ego, but the deepest mystical traditions ask a more terrifying question.
Which is?
What happens when the ego completely dissolves into the water? The ancient Greek philosopher Thales of Miletus named water the arche, the fundamental origin of all things.
Because it's so adaptable.
Because he observed that it's the only element we naturally witness transitioning seamlessly between solid, liquid, and gas. It is the absolute master of impermanence.
And that concept of impermanence bridges thousands of miles of geography. I mean, Heraclitus in Greece and the Buddha in India realized roughly the same truth at similar times in history.
That you cannot step into the same river twice.
Exactly. The water has moved on. You have moved on. Flow and impermanence, what Buddhism calls anicca, is the true nature of reality. Clinging to a static state is what actually causes suffering.
The Hindu reverence for the Ganges River offers a really beautiful synthesis of this idea.
How so?
On a purely physical, material level, the water of the Ganges today carries significant pollution. But spiritually, its essence, known as the tirtha, remains eternally untouched and pure.
Wow.
This serves as a mirror for the human soul, the Atman. No matter what physical or psychological trauma a person endures in the harsh material world, their deepest essence remains as pure and flowing as that sacred river.
That reminds me of the 13th century Sufi mystic Rumi. He captured this realization in, I consider, a pinnacle moment of spiritual poetry.
The ocean quote.
Yes. He wrote, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop." It just completely reframes our sense of isolation.
It does. In Sufism, the concept of the ego's death, known as fana, isn't about disappearing into this terrifying black void.
It's the tiny, isolated, frightened drop finally realizing its true, vast nature and returning to infinite expansion.
And to make Rumi's realization intensely personal and practical for you listening right now, we can actually map the entire human lifespan directly onto the physical water cycle.
Oh, I love this. Let's do it.
It serves as the ultimate metaphor for the journey of the soul. Let's start at the source, the ocean. This represents the timeless divine unity, the Ein Sof in Kabbalah, or the Tao in Taoism.
It's the state of absolute oneness before time even begins.
Exactly. Then the sun warms the water, and we get evaporation. The spirit descends.
We leave the vast unity of the ocean and become formless, drifting clouds.
Next comes the rain, representing incarnation or birth. A single drop becomes heavy, falls into the brutal pull of gravity, and hits the cold, hard earth.
This is the exact moment we become individuals, separated from the whole. We fall out of the cloud, hit the ground, and develop an ego.
Right. From there, the water seeps down into the dark, becoming groundwater. The groundwater is our deep subconscious.
The dark, hidden internal world.
Yes, that we navigate blindly, filtering through the soil of our early experiences until it eventually bubbles up to the surface as a spring. That spring becomes the river, which is the lifespan itself.
And when we are young, that river is a wild, rock-smashing mountain stream. It is full of raw energy, completely unrestrained.
But as we age, the river widens, gets deeper, and it gets calmer.
We inevitably hit rocks along the way. Heartbreak, illness, failure, grief. But the fundamental nature of the river is that it must keep flowing. It cannot stop to dwell on the rocks.
And finally, we reach the delta. The river slows down immensely. It spreads out, losing its defined banks. And then it meets the sea.
Death.
Yes, this represents death. But viewed through the lens of the water cycle, death is not an ending. It is simply the moment the river meets the ocean again.
The drop doesn't die, it expands.
Precisely. And the ocean is actually richer, more complex, and more complete because of the long, arduous individual journey of that one tiny drop.
That completely removes the sting of mortality. But if water is the literal soul of the world, if it represents this sacred, necessary journey, then our modern relationship with it reveals a profound spiritual crisis.
To understand the depth of that crisis, we have to look at how humanity related to water when survival was a daily question.
Like the story of Hajar in Islamic tradition.
Exactly. She was left in a completely barren, scorching desert valley with her infant son, Ishmael. They had no water. Her baby was dying of thirst.
But instead of surrendering to despair, she ran between the hills of Safa and Marwa. She ran frantically back and forth through the boring valley, searching for water 7 times.
Which embodies the profound spiritual concept of tawakkul.
So tawakkul is active trust. You don't just sit in the sand and wait for a miracle to drop from the sky. You exhaust every single ounce of human effort you possess, and only when you have nothing left to give, you let go and leave the rest to the divine.
And the tradition tells us that only at her absolute limit, when she could not run another step, the angel Gabriel struck the earth, and the Zamzam well erupted from the dry ground.
And that well continues to flow in Mecca today.
The lesson is clear. The universe will open a source, but only for those who refuse to give up and do the work. Now contrast Hajar's desperate, sacred reverence for water with our modern reality.
It's night and day.
We are living in the Anthropocene, the geological epoch where human activity dominates the climate. Ancient glaciers, the frozen ice towers that feed our continents, are melting into the sea.
The Aral Sea has virtually vanished.
And the mighty Colorado River is often reduced to a trickle by the time it reaches the ocean. We have taken the cosmos' most sacred, mysterious element and transformed it into a privatized commodity.
We literally bottle the universe's oldest mystery in single-use plastic. We waste millions of gallons of it on virtual water.
Virtual water?
Yeah, the hidden water footprint used to produce fast fashion garments that we wear twice and throw into a landfill. We treat it like an infinite inventory rather than a finite miracle.
It feels like a global form of spiritual dementia. We have forgotten what this element actually is.
Finding a cure for that dementia requires listening to indigenous cultures who never forgot. Like, the Maori people in New Zealand fought a long legal battle to have the Wanganui River recognized as a legal person with its own rights.
That's a good one.
And countless First Nations traditions across the globe have maintained for millennia that water is a relative. It is an ancestor, a living entity, not a resource to be extracted for profit.
And Islamic environmental ethics introduced the concept of the Khalifa, meaning humanity acts as temporary stewards of the earth, not its owners.
Synthesizing all of this leads to an inescapable conclusion, really. Sustainability is not just a political talking point or a corporate buzzword. Treating water with reverence is the deepest, most urgent spiritual commandment of our time.
Absolutely. We have traced this molecule from the silent dawn of the Big Bang, through the fiery collisions of the early solar system, into the bizarre quantum anomalies of physics, and through the sacred rituals of ancient ancestors.
The question now is, what do we do with all of this? How do we take this vast, cosmic, and spiritual reality and bring it into our daily lives?
It begins with bringing awareness to the most ordinary, mundane moments. Think about tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You will wake up, walk into your bathroom, step up to the sink, and turn the handle to wash your face. When you do that tomorrow, pause for just 1 second before you let the water hit your skin.
Just 1 second.
Realize that the cold liquid pooling in your hands was once interstellar ice floating in the dark, silent void of deep space. It is the exact same water that the primordial spirit hovered over at the dawn of creation.
It's the Zamzam well that saved Hajar in the desert.
It is the Jordan River of transformation. It is the very ocean where Rumi found the divine, cascading right out of your faucet.
What we do with this water, how we honor it, how we share it with those who thirst, and how we learn its flowing, yielding language, that is the truest answer to the meaning of our lives. The Creator's mirror is infinitely clear. The only question left is, are we?